Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. So a few days ago I made a video discussing the top 10 legendaries in the game, but it was mostly in terms of constructed, while I did go over the arena aspect of the ones listed. I didn't really go into depth to what makes a great legendary in arena. There are a lot of legendaries in the game, and sometimes, you have to decide between some really shitty ones, but usually there's a very clean way, very easy way to decide which is the best legendary in arena, and there is some reasoning behind it, and let's go over that real quick. So when you make an arena deck, you gotta have some big creatures. Some people call them heavy hitters, the big hitters. Basically, cards that have like a good amount of health to kill several of the mid-game cards of your opponent. So usually the standard has for a long time been the Boulderfist Ogre. The Boulderfist Ogre is an extremely good card in arena because, well, it'll kill off 2 Mechanical Yetis, for instance, before it dies. So Mechanical Yetis are pretty big creatures, and Boulderfist is the big creature, for instance. And now we've kind of upped the standard a little bit because, while some people think Force Tank Max sucks, well, Force Tank Max, in my opinion, is the new standard. It's a little bit better than War Golem, and it's just a real big guy. So Force Tank will sometimes kill 2 Boulderfist Ogres, sometimes even 3 if you're really lucky, but yeah, basically 2. So Force Tank is kind of the standard, and if you have big hitters like Force Tank, if you have like 2, maybe 3 Force Tanks, you probably don't want 3, you probably want like 2 Force Tanks and 1 Boulderfist, or 2 Boulderfist and 1 Force Tank, just to even out the mana curve, you're going to have a really well balanced deck. However, if you have a premium legendary to replace a card like a Force Tank, it's a really huge deal because it makes it so instead of, basically doubling up on one spot of your late game, you're going to get so much more value without having the problems against the early game decks. So for instance, if you're playing against another control deck and you have one of these like normal sized arena decks, if you have 3 big dudes and your opponent has 3 big dudes, but if one of your big dudes is a legendary and counts for 2, like, oh, I don't know, Tyrion, which is actually the #1 most picked legendary in arena, it's going to kill off his big dude, and you're going to get something out of it. You're going to get like a weapon, and it's not going to hurt you in the aggro matchup. So if he wants to have the same late game as you, he's going to have another like Boulderfist or another Force Tank Max in his deck to really match up in the slow game. But if he has that extra card, it's going to make his deck significantly weaker against the aggressive decks in arena, and there are aggressive decks in arena. So that's the reasoning there. The best legendaries in arena are the ones that have the most weight. Now, Tyrion, as I mentioned, is 100% of the time picked in arena mode because he is the best legendary in the game, but I kind of want to bypass the class ones. Aside from Tyrion, usually the class 1 is not the best. It's usually not better than any of the top 5, which we're going to go over here real quick. So #1 on the list. Now, when I went over this card in the video of the constructed legendary list, he actually was picked 100% of the time in arena. Now he's only 92.86. Ragnaros. Ragnaros is a really big dude. You have to keep in mind, in arena, you probably don't get Big Game Hunter as a choice. And if you do get Big Game Hunter as a choice, sometimes you get a better epic. Like sometimes a Blood Knight is more fitting, or just other stuff like a Sea Giant. Sea Giant is often a lot better than Big Game because you don't usually run up against creatures that have 7 or more attack, and Sea Giant is much more often playable, and because it's arena, you often come to a point in the game where you run out of cards. So if you run out of cards, you just play it for 2 for 3, and then that's a piece of shit. So Big Game is great, but you don't usually get it to choose from, and when you do, you don't always pick it. So cards like Ragnaros don't usually get big gamed. They usually kill off something or do a lot of damage, and then kill off a lot more things because you have to clear Rag off the board or win immediately. And Ragnaros is basically the end-all be-all of cards in arena. So Ragnaros can slay a Boulderfist when he's played up on the board, and then it might take like another Boulderfist to come into play to kill him, but then like the 3rd one gets sniped by Ragnaros. It's a colossal mess. He will get such ridiculous value almost every time in arena. Ragnaros will often win a game by itself, and that's exactly what you're looking for in an arena legendary. Number 2 most picked is Ysera. I told you guys yesterday in the video that Ysera is a card that holds a lot of weight, and in my opinion is a little bit stronger and constructed because he doesn't get big game. Though in Arena that's not a big thing. Ysera is a bit worse than Ragnaros in Arena because it doesn't do anything on the board state immediately when you play it as Ragnaros does. So if you're facing like Boulder Fist, you play Ragnaros kills the Boulder Fist, but Ysera doesn't. And if he has 2 Boulder Fists and you don't kill off one of them, he can probably just rush you down at that point, so you're just going to die. So it's not quite as good as Ragnaros. You do get more weight out of the card. The longer it's on the board, it tends to really, really steamroll, because Ragnaros is not going to kill a board of like 4 or 5, but if you get Ysera Awakens from Ysera, it is going to kill that board, and you might actually win games that you wouldn't otherwise with Ragnaros. So it's a little bit of a variant, but usually Ragnaros will strictly be better. And this list, I feel, is very fair. The amount of people that choose these cards in Arena among the options actually does describe the normalized tier list, in my opinion, quite closely. Number 3 is the Boomster. So while it's pretty much the best legendary in the game and constructed, it's not quite the best in Arena because, well, 1/1s are pretty easy to deal with. If you're a mage, if you have Flame Strike, you know, you kill off like a 3/3 creature, then you Flame Strike the board. Yeah, you take some damage, but those kind of swings aren't really that important. You have to keep in mind, you know, how much is Dr. Broom going to do? Is he going to kill off like 3 or 4 cards? Maybe. But so will Ysera, so will Ragnaros just about every time, while Dr. Broom might not. If you don't get too lucky, he won't do that actually. But he's obviously pretty close. He's pretty damn good still, and that's why he's on the list at just about 80%. So really strong card. I've said enough about this card. On to the next. We have Sneeds. And Sneeds is a pretty good card by itself, but you have to keep in mind that in Arena people run hard removal. People run Hex, people run Polymorph, so yeah, while it probably don't normalize with silences and that kind of stuff, when you play Sneeds, if it gets polymorphed, you're just epically sad. So because of that, it doesn't really always gain that much value, so that's why you'd choose the 3 legendaries before it if you had the chance. But coming in at nearly 78%, it's still very strong. Number 5 on the list, Kel'Thuzad. Kel'Thuzad's kind of in a similar position where it's not always good, so you need to have something on the board for him to be good. And in Arena, that's often the case, but when it's not, it's usually because you're losing horribly. And if you're playing Kel'Thuzad and you're losing horribly, it's going to do absolutely nothing. It's going to be significantly worse than all the other legendaries there. So you guys get the idea. Each of these cards is a really, really, really big creature. So much value in one card, it's a concentration, and that's exactly what you're looking for when you have these decisions. Now, there are a lot of other cards, there's a lot of legendaries that you often get, sometimes less desirable ones like Mogar, but they're still pretty good. You have to keep in mind that if it's a big dude, if it does kind of something a little extra, it's pretty good. The video I want to show you guys today, few clips of just some fun I've had with legendaries, because in Arena, legendaries are extremely powerful and they do often carry games, though sometimes people use them in very, very poor ways because it is Arena. So one thing that I recommend is, above all, if you have to choose in Arena, yes, you want to go with the one that has the most weight, as I hopefully have so vividly described, but also you want to use ones that you're familiar with. If you've never played it before, if you're not very good at Hearthstone yet, if you're not too experienced, maybe you shouldn't pick the more adventurous ones, as you'll soon see in the clips to come. So I hope you guys enjoy those, hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. It's pretty unlikely that it's going to work with kings. So he kept 2 cards and he's going second. This is going to be a rough game. Foodie? That is a lot of food. I'll start eating in a second here. Wow, that's bad.
Must cleanse the Sunwell.
Don't mess with Tusk. justice. Not on my watch. For justice.
Sneaky! Shush! Quiet! Moga desert, Moga destroy. No, Moga.
Shields up!
No, that one.
Well met. Well met. That loading.
Try the Cogmaster again. I thought like this deck could be like best case scenario for him, but it's still been like pretty meh. I'm okay with that. No point in attacking myself. I want him to initiate the attack.
From the void I come.
I think here we just go non-stop face, have him trade into my shit, and try to finish with Fireball. He needs a really good Void Caller, otherwise it's not going to work for him. Oh, he's trying to get a Doomguard, I guess. Okay. This is a bit greedy.
Behold the might of Stormwind!
Okay. That's really bad. Are you serious? Let's see if he has a heal. GG, bro. Well played. Looks like pure skill won this game. Double Soulfire. Yeah, that would have sucked.